Do you remember booting up a new game that just came out and not being able to wait for the logo and the title screen to load in? Do you remember clicking new game and being amazed by a handcrafted world, being invested into the story and having fun exploring this alternate world that someone had built for you to enjoy? It was a slow process, sure, trudging through the barren wasteland of the Mojave or exploring ancient ruins in Tomb Raider, but it didn't seem slow at the time, did it? No, it seemed wonderful. Why can't the games today capture that sense of wonder anymore? Why do they feel like a bunch of mechanics and images you've already seen put together in a different order? While it certainly is the gaming industry to a certain extent, it might also be how it has shaped your brain. In a recent video, this guy suggested that the reason I didn't enjoy Red Dead Redemption 2's long animations for everything you must do was because my brain was just dopamine fried and that I couldn't just enjoy things that took patience and time if you wanted to be rewarded with an experience. I agree with the general sentiment, although he did post it under the wrong video. The point of my video wasn't that Red Dead Redemption 2 is slow, it was that it's unnecessarily slow. Anyhow, there used to be a time when this guy would have been absolutely right. I used to be an endless game addict. Not that I played games endlessly, that wasn't the problem, though it would have been. It was that I played endless games endlessly. It started when I was introduced to Fortnite in a small DVD shop. I was there to get a single player game and my friend single-handedly, albeit unknowingly, ruined years of my life with that single introduction. I was immediately hooked. It was the perfect mix of challenge and dopamine. I was so addicted that I started to plan my life around playing Fortnite. The irony was that I couldn't even play properly without lag. We lived in Kashmir at the time, but I played regardless. It came to the point where I didn't enjoy the game anymore, but just played for the purpose of playing. Then eventually, and by eventually I mean when I had wasted 2 or 3 years of my life on that game, I switched to Valorant. Again, the same pattern, again a couple years wasted. I used to wake up, plan my day around playing Valorant, play as long as I could, and then go to sleep. This did material damage to my health, my relationships, and my growth as a person, but I think what it damaged the most was my ability to enjoy things. I could only ever sort of feel something when I was on the game. Everything else was too slow. I remember picking up Disco Elysium, now one of my favorite games of all time, during this time period of my life for the first time, and I remember putting it down almost immediately because it was way too slow for my dopamine-fried brain. I wanted to enjoy this game, but I just could not. I was miserable and I knew it. One day, I decided that it just had to stop. It might sound a little dramatic, but this game was literally ruining my life until one day, I had decided that enough was enough, that I needed a change in my life. Why did it take this long? Because I was fucking stupid. But why does playing games like Valorant or Fortnite, the endless online, usually free-to-play games, fry your brain? Well, it's the same as any addiction, really. Yeah, that's it. That's the reason why. There's no long-winded video essay explanation. According to this study published in 2012 by these guys, these games are quite literally an addiction. The present findings suggest that the neural circuitry that mediates cue-induced desire for internet video game play is similar to that observed following cue presentation to individuals with substance dependence or pathological gambling. Now let me translate that to layman's terms for you. It means you're fucked. Not only are games turning into gambling literally with loot boxes, but also technically with what areas of your brain they tickle. We truly do live in amazing times. Now, I'm not saying that this is on purpose or that the companies making these games are evil conglomerates. Not all of them, at least. If you have fun playing Valorant or Fortnite and you can control how much time you put into them and enjoy yourself with the time you do decide to put into them, by all means, go ahead. But if you have ADHD or if you're generally prone to addiction, please don't play any of these games. It will ruin your life. Well, all of that is well and good, Mr. Eshtake, you say. But the title of this video is a tutorial on how to enjoy video games again. We're 4 minutes into the video and you still haven't said jack shit about it. Well, have patience, my gamer friend. I had to describe how sinister this problem could be because it often goes overlooked. Now, when I did decide to make a change, I uninstalled the game and reinstalled it again the next day. Then uninstalled it again, then reinstalled it a couple days later. What I'm trying to say is, like with any addiction, breaking that addiction can be a process. So, coming to the title of the video, how do you enjoy video games again? Well, if it's because you're like I was and your brain is just deep cooked, then it's gonna take a while for you to adjust. You can't just replace one addiction with another either. You have to have a clean break. Stop playing games. All games for now. Delete Instagram. Don't scroll YouTube endlessly, although for long form content you could dedicate an hour a day. A similar thing with single player story based video games. I think the best thing to do is to get an old school Nokia phone and put your own phone away for a couple months, but I understand not everyone can afford to do that. There's still strategies you can use on an Android or an iPhone, like using a minimalist app launcher, tracking and limiting your screen time. Once you feel like your brain isn't aching for just another Valorant game anymore, you can come back to video games. Now, there will be a period of time where these normal games might still seem too slow because they won't have the instant dopamine-inducing effect other games did. But you just have to trudge through it at first. It's sort of like eating sugar and empty calories versus eating a nutritious meal. Sure, the sugar might taste good at first, but it's terrible for you long term, whereas a good meal nourishes you, enriches your life. Good video games are kind of like that. They're intellectual nourishment and an experience that adds to your life instead of taking away from it. And online endless video games do take a lot of value away from your life. Video games are great. I believe they're one of the greatest mediums of art ever created, but they should only be a part of your life. They shouldn't be allowed to take over your life. Now, if you're like the past me and you've been addicted to online video games for a while, you will literally not know how to play video games anymore to enjoy them. That's what happened to me as well. When I came back to single player games, I treated them like a checklist where I have to get through the main story no matter what. Don't do that. Take your time with good games. Slow down. Enjoy the ride. Look at the beautiful world someone spent years handcrafting for you. Interact with it. Experience it. Enjoy it. I struggle the most with RPG games specifically, where the point is never to complete a checklist, but go through the story and the world, role-playing as a character you're free to imagine. Timothy Kane has a great video on this. It's called Try Role-Playing. Now, the problem with me was that I am a very competitive person, so I couldn't just bring myself to accept that my character failed a certain speed check, or I just couldn't do this because my character failed a certain strength check. Look, you don't start role-playing automatically just because you're playing a role-playing game. It's an active process. You have to engage your imagination. You have to step into the shoes of someone else for the game. But yeah, whether it's a pre-provided character like in Disco Elysium or a custom-made character like in Fallout. Either way, the fun of the thing is in the role-playing, which in my opinion, most people just don't do. Another reason why you might not be enjoying video games is just the state the video game industry is in right now. It's gotten capitalismized, and like most things that are capitalismized, it's made it way worse. I think the biggest reason why video games feel drab and repetitive now is because the driving factor behind making video games has become capital gain when it used to be passion and creativity. Games aren't being made to express people anymore. They're being made to pad the bottom line of some fat cat CEO who already has more than enough. The solution to this complex problem is ironically pretty simple. Just be on the lookout for good AA and indie games. The silver lining with the terrible state of the AAA or the quadruple A industry, if the executives are to be believed, they are not. Well, the silver lining is that it has created a space for good indie games to flourish because people are tired of the same tired slop that companies like Ubisoft were pumping year after year. The best part is that it started to affect the only thing they give a fuck about, the stock price, and now they might be forced to be more creative with their ideas because, you know, they don't want to dissolve themselves, and I do not want Ubisoft to fail either. That sentiment isn't as strong with EA, but still. I have zero doubt that there are game devs in those companies whose awesome creativity is buried under corporate bureaucracy. I can only hope that this kick in the balls can convince the money-grubbing piggies at the top to give the control back to the creative minds working for them. How do you come into all this? Well, do what we've already been doing. Work with your wallet. Do not pre-order games, and if you do like a game, go out of your way to support it if you can. This will net you games that you want to play, and it will result in a positive change in the gaming industry, a win-win. Lastly, and I have mentioned this before, but I want to elaborate, I want you to touch grass. That's right, I have betrayed the gamer doctrine and gone outside. For real though, like I said, games are meant to be experiences that add to your life, but there has to be a life to add those experiences onto. Get a few hobbies, not just gaming. Preferably hobbies that involve athleticism of some kind. Exercise is not only healthy, but it will prime your brain to enjoy life and video games more. Make some friends. This comes from someone who was pretty antisocial for 20 of his 25 years on Earth. I just couldn't bring myself to forgive people for their little faults, but you should learn to take the bad with the good and learn to identify the bad in the good, but ignore it if possible. And when you do come back to the Mojave or to Revachol after you've hit a new PR or after you've been out having fun with your friends, I promise you, it will feel like a different place. Have a great day and goodbye.